Yeah, so now guys, you cannot study temperature regulation and you do away with the skin. You cannot study temperature regulation and you do away with the skin. So let's have some brief anatomy of the skin and we see how the skin plays that important part as far as temperature regulation is concerned. Now the skin mainly has three main layers. Mainly three layers. And the layers are, you have the epidermis, you have the dermis, and epidermis is right from here, okay? Relatively, not but right from here, the way you're seeing this, okay? Yeah, the whole of this is the epidermis. And then you have the dermis. The whole of this is the dermis. And then you have that subcutaneous layer, okay? Subcutaneous layer, which is simply the layer, the adipose tissue. Simply fats made up of adipocytes for storage of fats. Now, the basic structures, you have the hair, okay? Outside or external, you have the hair, and the hair goes inside to the papilla of the hair, this one, and then the papilla is connected to blood capillaries. It is well vascularized. And then you have nerve fibers, and the nerve fibers connect to the endings, and you can see the endings are the so-called receptors, and you have different receptors in the skin. That's why the skin is, we are going to see the functions of the skin, okay? One of them is feeding. It's a sense organ. You can imagine such an extensive structure, but whichever part you touch, you'll be able to feel. You touch a hot object, you'll be able to feel. When it's cold, you feel. When somebody slaps you, you feel. You feel it. And still when somebody touches you, you feel it. It's because of the different receptors. The baroreceptors, the thermoreceptors, the pain receptors, that you are able to respond, that you are able to feel the different stimuli. Then the skin, like we are going to see, it is involved, though it plays an important part as far as thermoregulation is concerned. That's why when you start running, right now it's cold, the skin is dry, but the moment you start running, you end up producing sweat, and the entire body is going to be completely wet. Why? It's because of this sweat gland. Okay? So the sweat gland, it produces sweat. It is an exocrine gland. This one is a merocrine gland, I think. Merocrine, you can fact check that. So it produces the sweat, and then the sweat is released into this duct and released outside the skin through the sweat pores. And then you have the sebaceous glands. Now these ones, they do produce sebum, and the sebum, it is released into this pore of the hair and finally released outside the skin. Now this sebum, it's the one which it's the one which forms that oily structure, that shiny appearance of the skin. But that's not enough. This one is responsible for trapping microbes that are trying to enter. It is the first line of defense in simple terms. Okay? And then the hair, it is connected to a special kind of muscle. It's a muscle tissue known as the erectile erector pili muscle. This one, the erector pili muscle. And now this erector pili muscle, it's the one that is responsible for raising, okay, and falling of the hair, okay, depending on the environmental condition, depending on the surrounding. When it's too cold, then the hair is going to be raised. The skin hair is going to be raised. When it's too hot, the skin hair is going to fall. So it is the erector pili muscle that is responsible for that. Okay? And without it, then I don't know if we can be able to raise our hair. Now, if we are to extensively talk about these layers, if you are talk about the epidermis, for instance, now the epidermis is divided into layers. Actually, it's the one that is responsible for, the skin has that tear and wear. Cells keep dying. Actually, every day, millions and millions of cells keep dying, and millions of cells must therefore replace. So it is this epidermis that is responsible for that. Okay? Now, if you are to have a look at the epidermis, maybe if I'm to magnify, okay? If I'm to magnify, maybe, let me get some. Yes, I think this is going to be some good space for writing. So if I magnify the upper epidermis, this is not sexy. If I magnify the upper epidermis, I'll be able to see that these cells are actually arranged differently. That they are arranged in layers. Okay? They are arranged in layers, whereby the cells at the base, they are simple cuboidal cells. Okay? The cells at the base, they are simple cuboidal cells with the nuclei in the center. Now they are the ones that actually do carry out the cell division. These ones here, they are the ones that do carry out the cell division. Okay? They carry out the cell division constantly and continuously throughout the end of your life. Okay? And then when these cells divide, they keep moving up. Okay? They keep moving up and they form another layer. And within these cells, you have the specialized cells called melanocytes. No, these are keranocytes. I think, yeah, keranocytes, which are responsible for production of keratin. The upper layer, this one, the very uppermost layer, is keratinized, and your skin is highly keratinized. You remember your histology? Yes, it is stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. So now the keratin, which is a protein, which is a fibrous protein, is produced by these keratin cells or keranocytes. And as you're producing this, the keratin is going to be produced by these cells and then highly deposited, okay, into these cells, so that you form something like fibers. Okay, you form something like fibers that span from cell to cells. Okay, from cells to cells. Now, as these cells keep growing, let me call it growing. Okay, they keep moving up, and you can see that the upper epidermis actually doesn't have any blood capillary. You can have a glimpse at this. It doesn't have any blood capillary. It doesn't have any nerves. So as these cells keep moving up, they keep moving away from blood, and you know blood supplies oxygen, blood supplies nutrients. So as they keep moving away from the nutrients and the nutrients, these cells keep dying. And in the process, they keep depositing the keratin. So that the cells on top, these very cells, these ones, they are dead cells. They are completely dead cells. Okay? Why are dead? Because of the function that they do perform. Okay? Because we are going to see the functions of the skin. Okay? So to perform that function, they are the barriers. They prevent entry of microbes and physical barriers, and we shall see. Okay? Then these cells, they become dead so that they perform their function. So if you proceed up, then you form the simple squamous, highly flattened cells, very many of them, and actually they can be arranged to form roughly 20 to 30 layers. Highly squamous, highly flattened. You remember your histology. The simple squamous epithelium. Not the squamous epithelium, not simple. Highly flattened, highly packed dead cells. Okay? Yes. Why dead? Okay? To act as a barrier, to prevent entry of microbes, as a physical barrier. Okay? Yes. Why keratinize it? So that it has that strength. And actually the cells here are highly keratinized. Since they are even dead, highly keratinized. Okay? So that they provide that structure support. Now, as you can see that the upper epidermis, actually, the cells are arranged in layers. And they are literally 4 or 5 layers. Okay? They are literally 5 layers of cells. Okay? Whereby the cells at the base, these ones that are highly mitotic, these ones which appear cuboidal, okay? They form a layer of cells known as the stratum. The stratum. Stratum means layer. Stratum basale. Okay? From the base. From the base. So since the cells are found at the base of the epidermis, they are known as the stratum basale. Then the next layer, okay, the cells that have divided, okay, the cells, these ones divide and then they keep moving up, up, up. So these cells with keratinocytes. Now, before that, the cells, these ones that make up the stratum basale, they also have the melanocytes. Melanocytes. And these melanocytes, they are the ones that are responsible for producing melanin. And depending on how much melanin you have, it will determine the degree of your skin color, whether you're going to be too dark, whether you're going to be too light, or chocolate skinned, like how you guys always describe that. Then these cells that are just after the base, okay, they form what we call the stratum spinosum. Stratum, it is the same stratum spinosum. Okay, stratum spinosum. And then these ones that are just above this layer, they are known as granulosa cells. So they form what we call the stratum granulosum. 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 Stratum granulosum. Why stratum? Because they are layers. Strata means layers. Okay? So it is stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, stratum basale. Yes, so we say that they form the stratum granulosum. Okay, this layer of cells. And then above the stratum granulosum, you have the stratum lucium. Okay, or lucidium. It is L-C-I-D-U-M. The stratum lucidium. And then finally, the topmost layer. This one which has sim the squamous epithelial cells, highly flattened cells, okay, is known as the stratum corneum, okay, or the conified layer, or the stratum corneum. Now, if these words become kinda hard to memorize, obviously they are hard. You just remember this. Come on, let's get some beer. Come on, let's get some beer. Imagine you've gone out and you have Christian friends and they all want soda, and you be like, no, come on, let's get some beer. Okay? Yes, this one is going to help you understand or memorize these layers. Come on, let's get some beer. Where they come on? Hey, buy them from up. Come on, let's get some beer from up. Where they see, it is the stratum corneum. The L is the stratum lucidium. The G is the stratum granulosum. The S is the stratum spinosum. And the B is the stratum basale. So those are the 4 layers which make up the upper epidermis. The epidermis, there is nothing like upper epidermis. Then the dermis, it has 2 layers, relatively 2 layers, and it is simply a layer of connective tissue. Let me first clean the board. Yes, it's okay. So the dermis is simply a layer of connective tissues. Okay? And you remember your histology, where they are simply, you have there the cells that do secrete the matrix, and then you have the fibroblasts. So that you have the fibrous tissue, mostly the collagen, and then you have the elastin fibers. Okay, you have there some macrophages. Okay, and the mast cells and the fibroblasts, which secrete the fibers. And the upper one, it is the dense. So it is the loose connective tissue, and the lower one, it is the dense connective tissue. Okay, and you can see it is well vascularized, has more capillaries, more blood vessels, and it is well innervated. It has nerves together with the receptors. Now, in order to ensure the 2 layers to fully squeeze into each other, to fully form that tough structure, okay, tough structure, the 2 layers, both the upper and the epidermis and the dermis, they form like something like projections. Okay, they form something like projections, so that the 2 layers squeeze into each other, okay, to ensure that tensile strength. And these projections are known as the dermal papillae. Dermal papillae. Papillae. Okay? And they are, if it is one, it's papyrus. If there are many, they are papillae. And then just below the dermis, you have the subcutaneous layer, which is simply the adipose tissue. The adipose tissue made up of very many adipocytes or adipocytes. Now these adipocytes, they are cells that are responsible for storage of fats, and collectively they form the subcutaneous layer. Now this layer, it's literally not part of the skin, but it is just beneath. Number one, it insulates. Number two, it is for storage of fats. If you have a lot of fats in your body, if you take too much carbohydrates, they'll be converted into fats and they'll be stored in these adipocytes, these cells that are really responsible for storage of fats. Okay? And they perform their function. Then just beneath the subcutaneous tissue, you have there the skeletal muscles, okay, that will attach this skin onto the skeleton, okay, and the skin is able, or the organism is able to survive. So basically, that's the structure of the skin.